up, y'all? I've decided that my video series is called What's Up, Y'all, because that's literally how I start every conversation with you all, is What's Up, Y'all. So, what's up, y'all? So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, again, this Dave Chapelle special. And again, I didn't see the Dave Chapelle special. And so this is less about Dave Chapelle and it's more about us as a culture and what I believe we're being called on in this time to do, right? And a lot of the conversation that I'm hearing right now is like, now we're talking about canceling Dave. This cancel culture is toxic. We can love, this, we don't have to throw him away. And here's what I agree. I agree that we don't have to throw away people. I don't believe in throwing away people. I think right now the problem is that we are confused between the difference between accountability and disposability. And that our culture actually needs to take some time and parse out those two things. Dave Chapelle is not hurting. He got paid $60 million to spend the last 3 specials shitting on transgender people, forgetting very clearly that transgender people are black people. And so his analysis that the trans community and the LGBT community somehow exist in his black male imagination as only white people. When the reality is that the greatest harm, the highest level of mortality rates are trans black women who have a life expectancy of like 32. And so I'm not proposing that we throw Dave Chapelle away. I'm supposing that we make Dave Chapelle be accountable to the impact of his language in the world. And accountability looks like acknowledging harm and then changing one's behavior to minimize that harm. Right now, Dave Chapelle is being paid millions of dollars to continue to be harmful to trans and queer people. And I'm sorry, I can't figure out why that's acceptable. And the thing that I think is the reason it is acceptable is because we don't want to let go, right? Because he does make us laugh. And so sometimes because he does make us laugh, we want to be acceptable. We want to be more accepting of the places where he causes harm. And that's not accountability, y'all. That's not any different than, the uncle in our family is really kind to us, even though we know he abused our mama. Right? And the reality is that we are coming to a time where we have to be willing to stand in the difficult and uncomfortable place that accountability requires us to stand. Because sometimes it means having to say, no, I can't kick it with you because you continue to be harmful. And that doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean you don't make me laugh. That doesn't mean I think that you are irredeemable. It means until you're willing to come into account for your behavior, we can't be in this kind of relationship. And the kind of relationship that we are in with right now with Dave Chapelle is one where he is totally being rewarded for his harm despite the fact that it is harming marginalized people. Dave Chapelle is a rich man who has enough money to move himself and his family away from the things that he found harmful. But the people that he's shitting on right now don't have the resources to move themselves and their families away from the culture and climate he is contributing to that is harmful. And so at some point, we've got to decide that the laughter isn't worth it. At some point, we've got to decide, I'm going to say it and y'all going to be mad, that the chicken sandwich isn't worth it. Right? Whether we're talking about the homophobic Chick-fil-A or we're talking about a capitalist underpaid, Popeyes, whatever the case may be, at some point collectively, we have got to be like, we have the collective power to force a thing to change. And then we've got to be willing to step into that. And I feel like that's uncomfortable for folks. And that's why we don't want to do it. And that's why we equivocate in places where there should be no equivocation. There should be no equivocation in a comedian continuing to double down on making fun of a community that's being murdered. I don't want that comedy anymore. And I certainly don't want that comedy from people whose lived experience doesn't make them have to live in the pain of it. That's the problem. So, I'm not proposing that we throw people away. I'm proposing that we hold people to account, believing enough in them that they might transform and join in an effort to save humanity from the utter toxicity and brutality that it is that we seem to keep generating. And the reality is that Dave Chapelle lives in a really privileged place where he has the ability to shit on people below him and never have to be bothered with the smell. I don't think we need to keep accepting that.